The dogs are barking today. I'm dragging out an old dog from a few years ago. SL2500 Betamax. I looked at this a while back. That's the one that the battery leaked all over the board and corroded it, and I condemned it. Well, I'm a sucker for punishment because we're coming up on the Betamax 50th anniversary. I figured I'd give this thing one more go. Let's check it out. In the collaboration video to show off some of the different Betamax machines, and we all talked about our favorite machines and so forth. You know that my favorite machine was the SL2500. Well, the SL2500 has to be probably my least favorite machine. Now, I know I'm going to catch flack from some people on this, and it's the SL2000 falls into the same category as did the SL2700, which I have both of those, and both of those work. This one doesn't. One of the reasons this is not a favorite machine of mine is because of the complexity of the transport. With all the separate motors, separate rear drive motors, there's just more things to go around with it. But more importantly, these machines were very prone to upper drum wear, which caused them to snap tapes. They weren't a nice machine. This is one I looked at, and although I didn't condemn it, I came close to condemning it. I walked away from it a couple of years ago. It's been sitting here ever since. I think maybe we'll take another shot at this one today and see whether this one can be made to work, or am I best just to use this as a parts unit, because a lot of the parts in here are compatible with some of the other machines. Now, this one was dead. If we look back far enough to when I last reviewed this one, it had a super cap that was used for the clock. Had basically leaked all over the board and damaged traces. And I never went any further than that. This was one of the first machines that used a switch mode power supply. We all know how wonderful those devices are. I don't think that was the issue on this one, though. I forget. It's been so long. Let's just plug it in and refresh my memory as to what exactly this one was doing. I think it was just dead. So I don't know whether this one will be savable or not. I figured I would just give it another go before walking away from it. And I have another old machine I'll probably include in this video, because I don't know whether we're going to get this one going today or not. I don't have a service manual for it. I got an owner's manual, but that doesn't help me chasing electrons. I actually would need a service manual. And I have not yet been able to find one. But let's just listen again as I plug it in. See if that thing clicks again. I heard a relay click, probably in the power supply here. Let's listen. I know the manual's available on Hi-Fi Engine, but their site has been down for a while, and you can't download anything. Well, that doesn't do any of us out in the service field any good if we can't get manuals. I'm certainly not going to go and buy one and pay somebody for something that's available online, and that might be why they've taken them off, because people are selling them. To refresh your memory, this is where the super cap, or I guess it was a battery of some type, maybe it was a rechargeable battery, but anyway, this is where it all leaked. As you can see down here on the traces, got lots of reflections there, but I already tried to replace some traces on here, but yeah, there was a fair bit of damage down there. I'm sure I checked that fuse to see if it was blown. I forget even what I did on this, so we'll check the fuse. I can't be a blown fuse. I wouldn't miss that. But we'll check it again just in case, just because, you know, it's the thing to do. Unplug it first of all. Make sure that this fuse is not blown, which it's not. Do we have power? Let's just put the meter into volts mode here. This fuse. I have 12 volts. So we know that the power supply is functional. Now the clock display is not, obviously, because, well, it's not working. We got our power supply run coming out of the power supply here. I'm seeing where it goes. It goes to a couple different places. I'll check all the voltages coming up here from the power supply. So let me just ground the meter probe, and we'll just check all the voltages coming up from the power supply. Okay, power supply leads are these ones here. They go up to 2 connectors. We've got 0.7. That might be a 5-volt supply. I don't know. What's that one? 0.04. See, we may be missing a 5-volt supply. We know the 12-volt supply works. Well, let's just see if the others are working. There should be at least a 5-volt supply, I would think, as well. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, I'm plugged in. Yeah, I should have power. 12 volts there. Where is my 12-volt supply coming off the power supply? There's my 12-volt supply there. And there. And there. And these ones are ground, and I would imagine that this one's probably supposed to be a 5-volt supply on that red. That red wire is probably supposed to be 5 volts. I bet the red wire is 5. Now this is another one that goes over here. Where does this one go? A red and a black goes over here. And I bet you this is supposed to be, that's a 15-volt supply, that one. But I bet you this one's supposed to be 5 volts. Shall we give it 5 volts and see whether this thing will turn on? Dial my power supply up to 5 volts, and I'll set the current limiting down to maybe a couple hundred millivolts or a couple hundred milliamps, just so that we don't damage anything that if there's a short. So I'll set it to say half an amp. That should be, I would think that half an amp would be more than enough, and we'll just apply 5 volts down to this red connector here. And oh, what do you know? The power just turned on. Interesting. Okay, so we're missing a voltage off the power supply. Interesting. Let's dig into the power supply. So we'll pop the top off the power supply. I will say that this is one hell of a confusing power supply, and even when I looked at it at first, I couldn't understand what they were doing. It became a little clearer later on, and I will explain that as we get through here. I'll let you see me fumbling my way through this thing because it made absolutely no sense whatsoever. And the problem is not power supply related. I'll tell you that right now. The power supply is fine, but it took a while to actually come to that conclusion. There may be some guys out there that have worked on this that know, and I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag right just yet. But I will say that there's nothing wrong with the power supply. There's no failed components in the power supply. All the capacitors are fine. So if you're thinking it's a capacitor problem, it's not. It has nothing to do with the power supply. I don't want to reveal too much just yet. I want to keep you guys in suspense because this was a weird one, and when you get there, we'll get there when we get there. But this thing does everything completely different from what you're thinking. I'm looking for a missing 5-volt supply, and well, the 5-volt supply is missing for a reason, but it's not what you think. Talk about overcomplicating things. Look at all the ICs in there. That NEC chip you see in the middle, that's actually a quad comparator that's used in regulation. It's got so many parts in this power supply. This is probably, and I think the 2700 used the same power supply as this, but this is probably the most complex VCR power supply I have ever seen, just the way that it works. I mean, come on, it produces 5, 12, and 15 volts. How complicated can it be? Well, in this case, it's very complicated. Just to get the power supply out is a chore. And I thought the camera was off at this. I didn't realize I was recording this. But as you can see, it's a job just to get the power supply out of this unit. Oh, good. You guys got to see me struggling with the power supply. I hope I didn't swear too much. I thought the camera was off when I was taking the screws out. But as you saw, this is kind of a pain to get out. All right. I'm going to have to get down into here and see where we're losing that 5 volts. Is it a connection? Is it a cap that's gone bad? Somewhere we're losing 5 volts to the 5-volt supply. because as soon as I get the 5 volts going, the machine immediately tries to start up. And this was an early switch mode regulator design, and it's all kind of built into this, around this heat sink. We're going to have to start removing heat sinks and stuff, I think, to get the board out of here. Yeah, not a real friendly one to work on. How does this thing come apart? Maybe the back comes off. Okay, I think the back, if I lift off the back, different size screwdriver required, of course, because, you know, they couldn't standardize on using the same size screws. I think if I remove this screw and the one on the other side, the whole panel, the whole back might lift out. But it looks like I'm a novice working on this. I am. I've never gotten into one of these units. We did a lot of pin kit replacements on them, a lot of front loading mechanism repairs, but by the time these machines actually started breaking down with electrical problems, most people had already abandoned them at that point and moved on to Beta Hi-Fi, because these machines were only available for a very limited time here in Canada. One model year, if that. The Beta Hi-Fi had already been released when this one came out, and this one was actually was originally going to be a linear stereo model with BNR, beta noise reduction, Dolby B in other words, but it never happened because the Beta Hi-Fi happened. That's what happened. The SL2500 came out right around the same time that this one was actually on the market. Okay, that comes off there. Now what's holding this in place? I guess it's these screws. But yeah, the SL5200 hit the market right around the same time that this one did, and it had hi-fi, and then this one was replaced by the SL2700 almost immediately. So the 2500s never really, they weren't around very long, and then they disappeared really quick just because, well, the 2700 was the same machine but with hi-fi, so it kind of replaced it, and that became that. Okay, let's see where those wires go for that supply. One of them was over here. I think it was the brown wire, if I'm not mistaken. It was the brown wire on this one. Where's that one going? Brown wire is going up here. Red. The brown wire probably comes down here right next to it. There should be a 5-volt supply. There's a relay here. The relay does play a role in the 5-volt supply. That's just a little hint. Okay, that red wire there should have 5 volts on it. There's a cap here. Imagine a Spark 05. This thing was plugged in and it was catching something. High voltage in this thing, lots of high voltage in this unit, on this side anyway. I've covered up the AC side, the high voltage side, just so I don't accidentally get jolted as I'm testing here. I'm only interested in the low voltage side over here, so let's power it up. And we'll take our meter and measure first of all here, and see that we got 0.2 volts there. We have 0.2 volts on that side of the coil. This comes back over here. I'm looking to see where the 5 volts is actually taken off this thing. So we're looking for the 5-volt supply. Why is the 5-volt supply not there? This one here is the 12-volt supply. This one here should be the 5-volt supply, and I got nothing. That's an IC. That's a regulator. That's a diode. Okay, so 12-volt supply is there. Where are they deriving the 5 volts off of this? This thing's got so many damn transistors and circuit in here. It's totally different than everything else that followed it. That's probably the 5-volt supply here. I see 0.2, 0.7. I think this is probably the 5-volt supply over here. So we're just going to see if we can find where it's being lost. Some of this might be the regulation as well, right? 0.7, 0.7, 0.7. Let the supply drain. We'll know it's drained when the 12-volt supply goes out. The high voltage is dropped off now. These are the chopper transistors to operate this side. We should have two. Okay, this is the diode. This is a regulator of some type. So here's our coil, our transformer winding. Goes to both sides of this. This is a dual diode, this one. So this is the DC side coming out, which ends up over here, which ends up down here to the relay. Much time was spent analyzing the traces here. It would have been so easy had I had the schematic. That should be grounded. That's a center tap, I believe. So that should be, and that is grounded. So you got your two windings and a center tap. There's only a 12 volt secondary here, so everything is derived off the 12 volts. So somewhere in here there's a regulator. That's a IC3. Is that a 5 volt regulator? I don't see any power going into it though. That's the thing. If that's a regulator, which we can tell if one of them's grounded, which it's an IC, but it's not a 3-terminal regulator because it's not grounded. Otherwise we'd see one terminal grounded. That's measuring 1.2. So that's not open, and that's the one that's on the feed. That's on the feed going to the there's a transistor here, Q4. Q4's got 12 volts on the emitter. Is that transistor open? 12.7. No, it's being held in cutoff. That should be the regulator transistor. Or a switch, but it's not turning on. That's the direct feed coming off of the main filter. That's the main filter right there, that one. So this is the base for this transistor, and it is controlled. Should be a reference here, a Zener diode to reference it. That might be a Zener there. It's not showing as a Zener, it's showing as a regular diode. But somewhere in here that transistor is not being biased on, it's being biased off for some reason. What I have to determine is that red wire, which I thought was a 5 volt rail over here on the power connector, because it had 0.2 volts on it, that's actually switch 12. That comes up here and it goes through this coil, there's a choke, and it goes into the relay right here. And the other side of the relay is this one over here, and it's got 12 volts on it. So this is a switch 12 rail. So the brown wire must be the standby. That's got to be the 5 volt standby wire. So let's just see where it goes, where it comes up on here, and trace it back. It looks like I've got 5 volts. I saw 5 volts back here. Where was it? Now that I turned out the light, I can't see what the hell I'm doing. I have 5 volts. I had 5 volts on here. Where the hell did I find it? There's 5 volts right there, and then 0.5. What is that? Is that a resistor? There's a 5 volt rail right there. You can see it on the meter. 5 volts coming off the 12 volt line. And it goes, so this is 5 volts on this one here. I was going to have to trace this and see where it goes. It's 5 volts there, it drops down to nothing, 0.5 there. Over here we've got 0.7. So we're losing our 5 volts right in this area here. 0.7, 42. There's a resistor across here. I'm going to check this out. Got a resistor here I'm going to check. R42. I just unsoldered it from the bottom. We're going to pull it. That's measuring okay. Interesting that I had 5 volts on one side of it and I had nothing on the other. Very interesting. When I was measuring my voltage, I had 5 volts on one side and I had 0 on the other, and I thought, oh boy, I found an open resistor, but it appears that it is not open. Okay, so R42 is right here, and I had, where's my 5 volts that I had? I had 5 volts on one side of it here. Right there, I got 5 volts here. I think that's all the same. Is that trace broken? I got 5 volts here. A close look at that. Yeah, that looks like it's not actually connected. That looks like there's a break between there. That would explain why there's power on one side and not on the other. It just, the connections on this board are so close together. It's really hard to see. I had to put on the magnifiers to see that, but that is not connected, so that would make sense why I don't have any voltage. It would be real nice if I had a schematic for this thing, but I just figured out what's going on. This power supply is controlled, it's told to turn on from the relay. The 5 volt stays off. This transistor is off now. If I put this transistor on, you'll hear the relay click, and I bet you'll see our 5 volt supply will come on. So let's go to our 5 volt supply, which is sitting down. I think that was the 5 volt supply there. Which one was it? Let's get the brown wire on it, wherever the hell that was. It was right here. This is the 5 volt supply. If I tickle this transistor to turn it on, you'll see the 5 volt supply comes on. And that's probably controlled from the power control for the unit itself. Which leads me back to the corrosion on the board. But the power supply looks okay. I'm chasing around a power supply looking for faults. And the reason it's not working is because it's not being told to turn on from the microprocessor. Okay, so I can disable that by cutting the blue wire and see if it turns on. It'll probably turn on and stay on at that point. If that's the power control, I'm just gonna mount this back in its case because, well, I just proved that there's nothing wrong with the power supply itself. It's on the main board, which is probably what I determined the last time I was working on this thing, right? I probably determined it was a problem on the main board. Abandoned it so long ago, so anyway, I'll mount this back in here, put the power supply back in, as there's no point in having it out because we know it turns on. This is when you have service manuals. It makes things makes life a little bit easier when you have a stupid service manual. And it's available on Hi-Fi Engine, but unfortunately, Hi-Fi Engine is not available right now. It hasn't been available for a while. They've just shut her down, and you know, they say, screw all you guys that need manuals. Too bad. We're going to restructure our website, and I don't know. Maybe they're going to go pay like everybody else, and I don't pay for manuals because I don't make any money doing this. So why would I spend, why would I spend 20 or 30 or even $5 on a manual for something that, especially if it's my own equipment, that I really don't have a desire for. I just want to see if I can get it to work. So I get the free manuals, and if I can't get the free manuals, I just live without it, which is what I always did when I was working in the business anyway, because I had The owner was too cheap. He wouldn't buy, like he wouldn't buy service manuals. He would tell me if I wanted a service manual for something, that I should buy it myself with my own money, and then he could make money off me fixing stuff using the manual that I bought. Well, that didn't fly with me. I didn't buy any manuals for that reason. We'll tinker around with it, cutting the blue wire, which I've already done. I've already cut the blue wire. That's the control wire coming off that main connector. So I've cut that, so when I power this up, this unit should start up, but I want to get the power supply back together. All right, with the blue power control wire snipped, this should turn on immediately when I apply power. Let's see if I'm right. Will it turn on? It's got power. Now, the question is, will it load tape, or is there other problems? Very likely there are other problems with this machine beyond this one. See, it won't accept the tape either. Now, it could be just some switches that are buggered up. This has got the plastic gear sets that like to break. Or is it jammed? Let's just see. Is the, let's lower this down. We don't need this up right now. Let's see whether the front loading gear is jammed. No, it's not. It's loose. If I turn it, what happens? Will the tape go in? Or is there a mechanical problem? There could be a problem with the front loader as well, right? That's entirely possible. Yeah, okay. So it did try to kick the motor. It looks like maybe the front loader's got a problem. We'll take that apart now. This may end up being an unrepairable unit, especially if there's broken gears in here, because well, you're not getting them. You're not getting the broken gears if there are broken gears on here, and that was quite common. This gear used to break all the time, and they made a metal gear kit for it. But there were other gears in here that would also just shatter. So let's pull the front loader out on this. Now that the machine can turn on, this whole circuit board here is dedicated, well, to the remote control and for the tape remaining. It would actually count down the amount of tape that was remaining by measuring the speed of the spindles. That is of little concern, though. The big thing is if I can get it to play back, which I don't think I will, but we're not going to find out without getting into it and breaking it and the whole bit. I guess I have to take the bottom off this to be able to pull the front off. Now this unit uses the 711D chassis. Why they called it the D, not just the 7. I guess the 711, that was the original one. That was for the, I think that was the SL2500 that used that. It was a top loader, so I guess they added the suffix D for the front loader type, because the 711B was a totally different chassis than this. And the 711 B2 and B3 were variants on the 711B. This is the 711D. It was only used in this machine and the 2700. I think those are the only two that used this one. This has got the separate motors, right? You got a drum motor, a capstan motor, and 2 rear drive motors, which some people will say that that's good, but I'm not some people, because I know how much problems these ones caused, and they did cause a lot of problems, tons of problems that many people didn't see. Oh yeah, one more screw. That was the tape breaking problem that they had. When the upper drum got a little bit of gloss to it from being polished by the tapes, it would start to slap. The tape would start to slap on rewind. Usually it was rewind when the drum got kind of worn, and well, it would cause the tape to break. It should just pop off on here. Just, oh, I forgot about the channel selector. Well, channel selector card, which is irrelevant. Doesn't matter now because, you know, tuners. Who cares? Who cares if the tuner works or not? It's not going to receive anything off air anyway. Alright, how the hell does this come out of this thing? I forget. There's a couple screws down here, I remember that much. It's been so long since I've worked on one of these units, I forget how they come apart. A couple screws on either side of the cassette housing. And I think there's more on the front. If I'm not mistaken, there's two more of them down here. One down here and one on this side. I do remember that this linkage had to come apart. There's a cut washer that has to come off down here because this linkage is there's a lock that releases this to lift it up, and it pulls on this linkage down here, and it's got a cut washer on it, and that has to come off first so that the linkage can separate. Again, it was as I say, it was a stupid design, this one. That linkage was what popped the catch on the top loader. When the tape fully unlaced, as the pinch roller was going back into its final position, it would pull on this like that, and that would release. It's already been in the release position now because the tape's not down, but that would release the catch on the top loader to pop the tape up for the portable. And on this one they use the same design. They just used it to activate a little switch on the side to tell it to eject the tape. I wonder how many people didn't disconnect that and then lifted the basket out and bent it. Bent this. I bet that happened a lot. People would bend that. Now I still have to get these screws out. There's screws down the side here. And yeah, I have to get the mechanism to go in order to access those screws. That's going to be a challenge. This might take me a bit. I should verify that there's nothing else broken on here, like the guide pins are not broken, because that was a common problem, was the guide pins snapped off on this. So I'll just wind it forward. One's good. Yeah, the other one looks to be there, so the guide pins all appear to be in place. Okay, so that part looks okay. But the front loader seems to have a problem. Hearing gears crunch like that is never a good sign. There's probably a gear that's broken on here somewhere. Alright, I was able to get the front loader in far enough that I can remove these last two screws. And then we can inspect the loader and see if there's anything broken on it. Should lift out at this point, just like that, and there'll be a plug that I got to undo to unplug it. All right, let's look at this front loading mechanism now. See if it's broken beyond repair. There's a bunch of switches on here, right? And it could be any switch. It's not working properly, but I should be able to power this thing up with some low voltage just to run the motor back and forth and see whether it completes its loading cycle. That didn't look right, did it? It's down though, and the curtain is up. Let's go back the other way. You see, oh, it's broken. I can see it. I can see it broken. There's a gear. There's a chunk missing. That's why it's not working. Yeah, this is shot. The top half of this gear is broken. It's missing. I don't even think it's inside the machine. That was probably broken before the machine got to me. But yeah, that top half is broken right there. The loader itself, yeah, it goes up and down. If I release the catch for it, it will move like it's supposed to. But it's this gear here. That gear is broken. It's actually not a gear. Well, I guess it is. It's a fan gear. It's the one that is driven by right here. You can see it snapped off the top. So what that means is that this machine, unfortunately, is delegated to parts or the scrap heap or whatever. But I was hopeful there, and we made progress. I got it to turn on. It's the timer that's causing it not to turn on because of probably because of the corrosion from the battery from when that battery leaked. But and if I could have got it to run by just disconnecting the timer, because with the power on it should operate, it would have operated as normal. I bet if I put a tape down and force a tape down on there, close this down, put a tape in manually, and took the mechanism down, that it would work. And that's why it was making the grinding sound, because you see what happens on here is when you push the tape in, I'll put a tape in here. When you push in the tape, it activates a switch. The mechanism itself actually doesn't move. It activates a switch. And when the switch activates, they get the tape to go in. It activates the switch on the back. That switch there. And a switch on this side. There's two switches. They're connected together by this wire on the top. So when the two switches activate to indicate that you've pushed the tape in, it turns on the motor, and when the motor starts to turn, it starts to pull the mechanism in. As it starts to pull the mechanism in, it lifts this lock, which is what locks it's locked now, you see, all the way out it's locked. That stays locked. It doesn't move until the machine tries to suck the tape in. So if I push the tape in now, that's why it wasn't going all the way, it wasn't locked. You push in the tape, it pushes the switches, which tells the motor to turn on, and once the motor turns on and starts to bring the cassette in, it will lift this lock up. As it starts to move, it will lift up that lock, which is what releases the tape so that the tape can go in and drop. Unlike the newer machines, which all had a cam on both sides, they had a rod across the bottom, and they had a fan gear with the mechanism on both sides. This one only had it on one side. It only moved one side, and then there was this other gear assembly, one gear here and one gear over here, and this shaft that went across the top, and it would spin these gears. This gear would spin, that would turn that one, and that would turn the other gear that operated the other side to take it down. Bad, very bad design. These gears used to crack and break left, right, and center. So they actually came out with a metal gear to replace it, which you had a little set screw to lock it in place. But it was so bad. And this one's never been updated. My 2700 has. But yeah, that was, I say, some people praise this machine saying it was the best Betamax ever built. I disagree. I think this was probably one of the most trouble-prone Beta machines ever. There's the piece of the part that broke. Only a piece though. I think the rest of it's still missing, or I don't know. Can I glue that back together? I don't think so. I don't think this part will glue, but this is the piece that's missing from it right there. I'll show you where the piece goes. I'm not going to be able to glue this. Guaranteed this is not going to glue. It's nylon. Even with the fancy Bondic, I don't think that would glue it either. But probably what happened on this is one of these switches didn't operate properly to tell the system that it was in the unloaded position, and the motor just kept trying to crank it back. It was a bad design. This is the gear here. This piece that broke off actually goes in like that. I guess that way, or is it this way? Might be this way. How did it go on there? I guess it was like this. Yeah, that piece fed on. There's another piece that's missing from it here, it looks like. But this piece sat on here like that. That's how it originally was put together, but very, very thin plastic. And as I say, they tend to break. And we changed lots of these, like tons and tons of this fan. They call it the fan gear. And I changed literally hundreds of these things, hundreds of them. For shits and giggles, I'm just going to try to fill this with Bondeck and see whether I could actually put it back together. And that'd be something if I could put some Bondeck on here and make it strong enough to work. We'll try for the hell of it, because I got nothing else better to lose, right? On this, it's already dead, so I don't know how strong this will be, but it's solid. So let's just put it back together. See if we get lucky. I will turn this through by hand first, just to make sure that everything is going to work. I don't think it'll work, but you never know, right? I mean, if I had the correct part, then yeah, but I don't know how strong that Bondeck is going to be, how much force it's going to put on it when it operates, right? That's what I don't know. It's got to withstand a fair bit of torque, especially when ejecting the cassette, so it probably won't work, but hey, it's worth a try, right? So I take the cassette, I push the cassette in, and then the motor comes on and the cassette starts to drop. And then the lid gets flipped open and the cassette goes down. That part works. Once it goes all the way down, it locks in place with this little lock. So I got to make sure that that is not locked when I go to pull the tape back up. So let's just unlock it and apply a little bit of power to it to bring it up. Hopefully I got the right polarity here. That's down, this is going to be up. It's going to go up, so we're going to go that one. Negative down there, got to pull this little catch. And we'll raise the tape. Did I just fix this thing? There's really only one way to know for sure, and that's to put the loader back into the machine and see what happens when I power it up. I mean, it lifted under its own steam. So, is it going to work? Got to get the front loader in correctly. I remember I have to roll it ahead manually to put the other two screws in, but we'll get these two installed first, get the linkage reconnected, and then see what happens. Gotta reconnect that linkage. I mean, there may be other circuitry problems with this as well that we don't know about yet, but it's doing better than it was doing when I first started on it, that's for sure. Okay, well, let's apply power and see if things break, shall we? Okay, that's a good sign. Will the tape go in? Oh, no way. There's no way this thing's gonna work. Not a chance. But it loaded the tape, which one is the play button. I don't have it hooked up to a monitor or anything here, so I don't know which buttons. I gotta find the front for it to see which buttons are what. Looks like this is play. Oh, come on. No way. Let's hook it up to a TV. Just remember, there's no way that this thing is going to work. It can't work. And yet it does. Where's tracking on this thing? This is a tape recorded in Beta 1, by the way. Beta 1 SHB. This is the tape I used, so it's not going to look right. It's not going to look right. You'll see the insert edit coming up. I don't have any sound plugged in because it's a mini plug, not an RCA type plug. But this is playing back Beta 1 SHB. It's not going to look right. It's going to look like crap. But oh, okay. Oh, I guess this must have been. This is beyond. This is somebody's wedding I did. Also in Beta 1. That's beyond the part where I recorded the color bars, where I played it back. This was somebody's old wedding. I wonder who this was. But it was an old wedding that I had recycled. Let's go back to the color bars. Actually, we can probably go right back to the beginning. I'll try another tape. I'll try a Beta 2 tape, because this is Beta 1 SHB. This machine is not designed to play. It'll play Beta 1, but it will not play super high band. So it's going to look like crap, like that, because it's in Beta 1. It's not compatible. But let's see if the tape will come out, and I'll try another tape on this thing. I'm getting excited. This is actually working. I can't believe it. Especially since the tape arm is broken. Oh, look at that. I mean, if the tone of my voice sounds impressed, it's because I did not think for 1 second that I was going to be able to fill in the missing piece, the gap that was missing with this stuff, and make it apart work from broken pieces. That's a good testimony for bonding. Let's see how long it holds up, but that's a pretty good testimony for that light activated plastic, basically. Gonna track this up wherever the tracking control is on here. Of course, we're going to get plasma interference, but it's playing. This is the Sony Seminar. Should put it on the CRT set. Might look better. I'll try my scenery tape. That looks better. Well, that one plays a lot better. How about search? Search forward. The very fact that this thing even actually plays, though, is amazing. You can't turn it off. It's on as soon as it's powered up now, because the power button doesn't do anything, because the switching electronics, which is going to be over here, I think it's all tuned through it's all controlled through the timer. And the timer is shot because of corrosion on the board here, although I did repair traces I could see. And I think those are part of the video board, actually. I think that's part of the color board. So maybe I did repair it, but the timer itself is not lighting up. So the timer itself has a problem. It could be something internal on the timer, who knows, but it was keeping the machine turned off. This tape guide is really loose here. Somebody's been monkeying around with this. Let's just adjust it and see. Oh, there we go. There we go. Now it's playing perfect. Excellent. It has a perfect picture. I would love to show this to you for more than 5 seconds, but those assholes at Lounge V will file a claim against us. Well, I wave my hand through it. You know, Lounge V, the guys that say, yeah, you can use our videos in your doctor's and dentist's office, and you can use them to sell TVs, and you don't have to pay us anything for it. But God forbid, if you put this on another social media channel, they will claim all your earnings. It didn't break. I've loaded 3 tapes or 4 tapes now without it breaking. I'm going to throw the front panel on this thing and start putting it kind of together. We'll hook up an audio output from here just so I can get the sound off it, make sure sound is working. But The outcome has been much better than I thought I was going to ever see on this. I never thought that this machine actually would ever work again when I saw all that corrosion before and was chasing down why I didn't have power, and I just kind of set it aside, which sometimes I do that because it's my own deck, right? I'm not under any pressure to fix it. And that quite often happens where I will work on something and I will get somewhere with it, but then I just get bored. I get tired of it, or I've got other more pressing things to deal with. And I set it aside, but I don't throw it out because it's a project. It becomes a project. This became the project. I forget the last time I looked at it. It was a couple of years ago, I'm sure. But this became a project, and it was just sitting there on a shelf, actually in a pile of other equipment. And just because this is, Betamax is 50 years old as of tomorrow, actually. Actually, when you see this, Betamax is 50 years old. I thought, you know what? I did my contribution to the other guys that were involved, showing off all their old machines, and I didn't show off all my old machines. I have lots of Beta machines. Maybe we'll walk around with the camera and I'll show you them, because I do have my collection of Beta machines. They're in storage. There's only a few of them here. This is one of the ones that's here. But maybe before the end of the video, I'll show you the rest of my Beta machines that I've got. And if you guys want to see some more of the vintage machines brought back to life, I have some very old machines that I have an SL, I think it's a 7200, and I know I have an 8600. The 8600 worked last time I tried it. The 7200 did not. It needs belts and God only knows what else. It's a Beta 1 only. Beta 1 record, Beta 1 play. Unfortunately, the only Beta 1 that I can record is Beta 1S or Beta 1 SHB. I don't have any means of recording standard Beta 1, so I don't have any tapes that will play on it properly to even to get it to work. That's the problem I've got on that one, is that just like when I tried to play the Beta 1 SHB tape on this, the picture is all distorted. I'll do the same on the other one. But maybe we'll dig it out, see if we can get some life out of it. I know the Beta 2, the SL2600 Beta 2 did work the last time I checked it out. But anyway, let's put this one kind of back together, because this one's fixed. It's fixed as well as it's going to be fixed. I'm not really concerned about if the power button works or not, because it's got a problem with the timer. That's what controls it, and it controls the power on and off. It still could be a short on this board here. It could be something in here that's shorted, because the power comes off this board, the power control. But it's not switching the power, and that's what turns on that relay. And that relay is what controls the 5-volt supply. That's what threw me for a loop, because I had 12 volts, but I didn't have 5. And you would expect that your standby circuits are running on 5 volts. Not on this one. This one, it's 12 volts. And the 5 volts is controlled by a power control line that sends a signal back to the power supply. And that's what kind of threw me on a loop on this one. Had I had a service manual, it would have made things a lot easier. But hey, I'm working blind, and I got a functional machine now, and when I started a couple of hours ago, I didn't. Of course, this machine had good still frame. And where did Sony put the little adjustment so you could adjust the vertical lock? On the back. Yeah, on the back. You had, well, I put the control on backwards. Had to take that off to get the power supply apart, of course. But yeah, they put this on the back, so, you know, maybe if it was sitting on top of an old console TV, but if you had this in a stand and you put it on freeze frame and your TV was jumping up and down, you had to adjust it. You actually had to pull the machine out to get at it. But here, you look at this here. This is the audio connectors. You can plug a camera into it. I have a camera that will actually plug into this. I should go grab it and plug it in just for sheets and giggles, as they say. But yeah, audio, just standard. You know, it had RF, and it had just your standard, like 3.5 millimeter mono plug. Changer could plug into that. Now, you're probably wondering, what's the changer? Well, they had a Beta stack available for this, and I think the 2700 as well had the changer plug. You could have a changer that attached to the front of it, and you could stack 5 tapes. And it would, when one tape was full, it would rewind the tape, eject the tape, drop it out the front, and this Beta stacker that sat on top. You could have 5 tapes, and it would actually drop. It would pull the tape out, drop the tape into the machine, and then when it was done and it rewound it, the machine would kick the tape out. The beta stacker would extract it and push it back into this bin and grab the next. I never saw it. I heard about it. I never saw it. One of the cool features of this one, and I think the 2700 had it. Actually, while I'm thinking of that, let's go take a look at my other machines. I'll just grab my other camera and we'll go take a little tour of my beta collection. Of course, you guys already saw this one. This, of course, is my SL2500 sitting on top of my UVW1400, which is the Betacam SP deck that I use for duplicating, or not duplicating, but digitizing. And my Sony Super VHS is in here as well. And a 3/4 inch. Those are 4 of the machines I use for transferring video over to digital. Another deck I've got is this one here. This is a BVW75. This is another Betacam SP deck. This one needs some work. I haven't got around to fixing this one yet. Someday we'll get to this one. And I have another one. This is a DNWA30. This is a Betacam SX playback only machine. It will play SP tapes. It'll play analog tapes as well as SX format. I have a camera that works with this. And I got another 3/4 here. This one here is another one. This is the VO5800. Used to be a 5850, but it's a 5800 now because it's got the wrong head in it. Over here I've got another Betamax. This is an SL2300. This is an SLHF360, I believe this one is, Super Beta. In storage I've got the SL2700, Beta Hi-Fi, this one here. I've got the SL5200. This is the first Beta Hi-Fi machine ever. I have a Sanyo machine here. It's a Super Beta Hi-Fi. I've got the Vitamagic. This is a projector. Indextron projector. It has a beta player on the back here. How rare is that? I would say probably pretty rare. Got an SLHF900 here. This one works as well. And there's another, I think the other one's in the garage inside. Here's another one. This is a SL330. Non-hi-fi, just a mono machine, I believe this one was. That's another one. That one works. I got a couple of machines that I've been robbing parts off of. Stole the head off of this one to fix another one. I already robbed the STK5441 out of this. That went into my HF1000 when it popped. Got a good upper drum here. Got another one here. What did I steal off this one? I stole the front loader off this one to take parts off of it. And this one here, the head drum, the bearing is seized. So I stole the head disc off it. Same with this one. This one's not seized, but I needed a video head, so I've been stealing parts off of some of these broken machines. One of these was, I think this was an HFR. One of these was an HFR 50. Was it this one or the other one? Let's see here. Yeah, this one was the HFR 50. This was an SL. This other one is an SL. What is it? An SL 330. What's it say on here? 300. SL 300. This was the HFR 50. HFR 50 was a mono machine, but it could be made hi-fi stereo. They had the circuitry in here, the traps and so forth, to pick off the AFM signals and send them to an external processor. And that was done through this multi-connector on the back. Kind of looks familiar, right? I have the 8mm that has the optional, and I have the optional digital processor for it. But it used a connector that looked more like a SCART plug than this. But that was for the hi-fi sound for the HFR 50. I remember we sold a few of them like that. We sold a couple HFR 50s and the processor to go with it. It was for people that wanted to go hi-fi, but they weren't ready for the expense yet, so they could buy it later. The thing was, it cost more to buy the HFR 50 and add on the hi-fi processor than it did to buy the it cost more to buy the SL HFR 50 than it did cost to buy the SL HF 300. So it was more expensive to go this way, so they didn't sell a lot of these. or maybe I should stand corrected. They sold a lot of these machines because they were cheaper, but they didn't sell a lot of processors. A lot of people did not buy the processor. They bought the machine because the machine was less money than a hi-fi machine, and then never bothered to get the hi-fi adapter for it. Even though I'm sure a lot of people, when they bought them, their idea was, I'm going to get the hi-fi processor for this, but it just never happened. Here's an old Beta 1 only SL2500. This needs some work. This records in Beta 1. Maybe we'll get this one working. That'll be a project. We'll get this one up and running. It's got a broken record button, but you can still push it. This was the first portable Beta that I had. I had this one, and a camera to go with it. Over in the corner, next to my old reel-to-reel video recorders that don't work, I have the two oldest Betamaxes in my collection. SL2600, this is a single speed. They called it the X2. That was before they even came up with Beta 2. It was a single speed machine, Beta 2. And below that one, that's hard to see because there's power cords and stuff sitting over it, but below that is the even older SL2500. The first one sold in North America. Maybe we'll dig this one out and see if we can get it to work. But it's an old collector's piece. This goes back to like 1980. I think it was 80 or 78. This one's even earlier. This was, I think, the first one that was available in Canada. It's complete. The cassette lid is broken because something got dropped on it before I got it. I actually got that when I worked at Sony in 1983. It was one that was shot. The heads were worn out, and the customer didn't want to fix it because the cost of the heads were so expensive, and by that point they had Beta Hi-Fi. So he bought a SL5200 and abandoned this at the service center, and I took it home and I put a new head in it because I could buy the head at cost. So I had this machine working for the longest time. It was kind of a cool old machine, and I got this one the same way when I worked at Sony. This was another one that came in that the heads were worn out on, and they bought a new machine and just said, you can scrap it. So that was another one that I was able to pick up and get going. So those are my two oldest Betamaxes. Speaking of old stuff, that's my first computer. Texas Instruments TI-994 with the extended basic cartridge and the optional speech synthesizer. And I just found the cover for my Akai GX260. That's the cover that goes over it. It's just sitting here in storage. I also have the expansion module with floppy drives for this, but I can't find the power supply. So I'll have to build a power supply to see if it even turns on, but that might be a project someday to see if this thing even turns on. Back to reality on this one. As I continue to put it together, I missed my SL2500, which is actually in the shop here behind me, but it's got a few things stacked on top of it, so we really can't see the front of the machine. All I can see is the back, so I didn't bother showing that, but it's a silver one. But it is here, and it does work. I also didn't show the SL2000 and TT2000, which is on the shelf. Yeah, SL2500. It's a super beta. It's literally 10 feet away, but I can't see it because of stuff stacked in front of it. Has the little... It's never been changed. 2 to 13 plus the 2 stars, which you could put in whatever channel you were going to tune in there on the Varactor tuner. I want to see if that works too. See if the tuner works. We'll hook up a cable to it and see if it'll pick up a signal once I get the bottom on. If I ever get this thing back together. I'll show you guys the nice motors. Capstan, drum, real motors. We used to curse Sony for this one because they used different size screws. My Pickwick seems to fit, but we used to have a special screwdriver, an engineer's screwdriver, that was like a... It wasn't a Phillips, it was a JIS type. It would fit these screws because if you used a regular Phillips #1, you could damage them because they were put in real tight. Okay, the tuner works. That's my security cameras. Go to my channel that's got music and scenery playing. And go to channel...
better databases to track criminals like Lorenzo
Channel 5,
Sanchez,
which has got CNN on there, or headline news. another. Anyway, the tuner is working. Let's see how it plays the tape with sound. This is the Sony training seminar.
And the sync may be disturbed. Now, I've never seen that happen. Have any of you guys in the shop seen that? Where a sync is disturbed on a normal Playback and Super mode? Yeah.
And it's got freeze. You turn on swing search. Slow motion. Freeze. 1 frame at a time. Where are we here? Let's switch it to step. Go 1 frame forward. I mean, it was pretty flawless. Oh, I think I need to adjust that that control on the back. Let's see what that does. So I'll flip the control on the back. Doesn't really do anything on this TV. Okay, well, that's what it's for. Just take away jitter. It's got say 1/10 speed forward and backwards. 1/5 normal speed, and you can even go double speed. And double speed was good for adjusting your tracking. And then you can go reverse as well. There's reverse at normal speed and slow-mo. And then back to play. And of course you got standard beta scan forward, beta scan backwards, pause, stop, eject, and it didn't break. I'm going to try doing a recording, so I'll put it in record. I'm just going to record this for a minute or two here, and we'll play back that recording. So it works. See all the dropouts on that tape at the beginning there. It's like, yeah, that was a tape I used for the demo. It's full of dropouts. Somebody's old wedding from eons ago. But this is the tape that I put the color bars on for doing the demo. Well, we're not even tracked on here now. It was just tracking. It will play them, but it's just not going to play them right because this is beta 1 SHB 6 megahertz. So anyway, this thing's working. I still can't get over that it actually works, and that fix on that broken plastic piece is actually holding for like more than one eject and load. I can't get over that. I mean, that's the first time I've ever tried to glue one of those. Although we didn't have this stuff before, we had crazy glue and epoxy and stuff that just doesn't work. But when I put that on there, in addition to fusing, I fused the plastic with my soldering iron first to hold it in place, and then I put the Bondic on, and I built up multiple layers, and I went all the way around. So it's not just over where it's cracked, but it's all the way around it on both sides. So I basically made up a plastic layer over top. So hopefully it'll last. I'll show you one other little neat thing about these machines is when the tape is in, a door slides up and says cassette is inside, and then when you eject it, the other door in behind, you see, you load the tape and the door comes up. Now the door has controversy behind it, and I tell you, I wouldn't have wanted to be one of those little kids that got his finger stuck in there, but that was the controversy behind this door that was mechanically driven by the motor. If you got your fingers in there, you got your fingers pinched, and believe me, I've had my fingers pinched in here before. It hurts. I can just imagine like a toddler sticking his fingers in there and getting his fingers caught. Yeah, that was a blunder. That disappeared after, I think the 2700 had it as well, and then that disappeared because that was a pinch point. Anyway, yeah, this thing's working, and I think I'm going to leave it at that. As I leave, I'm just going to let this machine play out on my plasma. I'll let it play this full tape through, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.